Well, you can't escape it. It's on your mind and it's all over your head if you walk outside. Rivers are high, ponds are full, and more rain is coming. Right now, as I just mentioned, we're under a flood watch. It's pretty obvious why. The ground is saturated and the water has to go somewhere. So into the lakes and rivers it shall go. Ben will share his forecast for the upcoming week in a minute. But first, let's take a look at the big picture. Kent's here to talk about how wet it has been.
Hey, Jenna, yeah, don't be fooled by this backyard setting. I'm not trying to be a meteorologist today. I did talk to a climatologist, though, and they told me that we're not about to set any records here, but they did note that we have seen now 4 consecutive months of wetter than average. And that is a pretty big deal, they said, especially if you look at the context of the time period that we're in and if you look back to history. You shouldn't be surprised if this all actually continues. To understand just how wet it's been across Minnesota recently, try flipping your thinking to how dry it hasn't been.
The drought monitor doesn't have an opposite. There aren't categories for how wet it is. So you just either have no drought or you have drought.
Senior state climatologist Kenny Blumenfeld says you can begin by comparing how the drought conditions 3 months ago nearly disappeared completely 2 weeks ago, marking the first time in 2 years that the state is no longer in any kind of drought. And even that last stretch of yellow, abnormally dry conditions, disappeared this week, marking the first time in the last 4 years this map has been completely clear. What does history tell us about what we might be in for?
When we look back at previous major drought episodes, we see that give it 1 to 3 years and you often swing into a very wet pattern.
Blumenfeld points to prolonged droughts in the 1940s, 60s, 70s, and late 80s, all followed by big peaks in precipitation shortly after. And if you pull back even further, he says you can see how global warming has brought more and more moisture into the atmosphere.
Over time, the wet patterns have been getting wetter and the dry patterns have been getting wetter. And when we look at it from a historical perspective, the 2020s so far have been the wettest dry period on record.
And if that sounds confusing, he says just think back to last winter when several areas of the state set snowfall records.
And that was sandwiched between 2 major drought episodes. And that's kind of what's been happening is we've had these really dry summers, then we would have extremely wet, cold seasons. Now we're going to see what happens when you have also at least part of the warm season very wet.
Is it a better time to be a climatologist or a meteorologist?
Well, climatologists only look backwards, so we're always right.
I'll tell Ben.
Yeah, sure.
He's got the tough job.
Yeah, people should go easy on your forecasters for sure.